Welcome back to Spider-Man Edge of Time. So, let's reprise to Peter, still stuck in the pod, in 2099, having to get out.
I suppose in hindsight it could have been worse. It could have been Spider-Man Edge of Reality.
Ooh. Peter?
You okay, dude?
Oh no! He cut between frames here and there!
Maybe you should have waited a bit more instead of getting out of the pod immediately.
Yeah, that never works well.
So now the Spider-Man has
the
switched
camera.
time dates.
By the way, this is completely scripted. Even if I try to move forward or anything, it's a complete mess.
Cinematic gameplay.
Also, Josh Keaton sounds completely stoned.
The correct term is cinematic action, don't you know?
Well, no. Cinematic action is more for a QTE.
Yep. Remember, that's what Square labels them. And there you go, now you're fine. What was even the point of that?
To simulate a Spider-Man hangover.
Interesting.
Because that was important, apparently.
Alright, let's see if the portal works.
I mean, that is what we wanted.
Oh, it actually does.
Alright then. Well, that means something bad's about to happen then.
I'm coming through the gateway. Wait, the return circuit.
Guess what? It's time for more padding.
Of course.
Now we need to find pieces to fix the portal.
Get ready, folks, because this takes up about a third more of the game.
Yeah, basically we're the beginning of a second act, basically.
Is it at least entertaining?
Depending on your definition, but we have some mysterious foreshadowing. The being things from the being that we saw at the end of the previous part, which is clearly some amalgamation of Dr. Octopus and Anti-Venom.
No, don't spoil the surprise.
But that's the thing. Get this: both Miguel and Peter are completely clueless, and it will take pretty much the length of what we've said to actually discover the identity of the thing. Never mind the fact that even if they were like clueless and they think it's a new menace and ready, it would be suspicious the fact that it has similar characteristic to the beings they just yeeted into the portal. None of them actually asked this kind of question until I don't think not even with the reveal they did ask the question. They're just clueless until the end. They act like it's a big twist or something.
Now, okay. Maybe I could understand this with Peter, since this is apparently a different dimension where Dr. Octopus isn't a big bad guy, but even still has the tentacles.
But Miguel doesn't have an excuse, and he's supposed to be the smart one.
He is. He really is. Oh, believe it or not, you'd think that the minute they see this monster in reality, they'll figure it out. But, oh, believe it or not, no. In fact, they will have to play detectives just to figure out what this monster is made of. Never mind the fact that this is obvious. Okay, let me look at this.
I like some of the puzzle designs for these sections where you need to, dislodge the tentacles in a proper pattern in order to let yourself, progress through the level. But there's the weird thing that the tentacles, and I mean the tip of the tentacles, the one that are supposedly mechanical, mixed with symbionte, are extremely weak apparently to Spider-Man's web shooter.
Wow.
Because it's not like toss a piece of debris into them or anything. No. It's just spruce some web into them and you're fine.
I guess Peter's web is just that powerful now.
Jean Grey? Okay. yeah. Just stop pointing out the fact that everyone has died in the Marvel universe once.
Yeah, I mean, some of the dialogue in this game is actually kind of good.
Oh yeah,
it's nice. That's the thing with it is nice. I do still believe that the writer, is a competent one, but it is buried in all the banter that Peter and Miguel constantly throw at each other, and sometimes I know that the game is literally called Edge of Time, but the game can veer into darkness-induced audience apathy real quick if you don't like that.
Let me put it like this. This story, quote-unquote, tries to be more mature than the previous Spider-Man game. And by more mature, we do mean more darker, having the heroes complain more, have them reflect on how life isn't so peachy as a hero, or my life is hell because I'm Spider-Man.
And believe me, folks, it's about to get even worse, if not in this part, in one of the next.
You know, it's funny, like, Spider-Man is definitely Marvel's golden boy. Like, he's practically their logo. He is pretty much their mascot. Yet, so many times does he get the short end of the stick in how well he's written here and there. This can
Mostly
go...
just to maintain the status quo or to sell copies, because at this point, literally every single possible story that could involve Spider-Man has been done. So, of course, there's some creative bankruptcy at this point. At this point.
Now you could say, wait, we haven't met Superman yet. Oh wait, no, we actually have him meet Superman several times.
and that's even before the official Marvel and DC crossovers on larger scale.
Hell, there was even the flipping amalgamation, which is kind of technically canon still.
Well, JLA versus Avengers is canon for the DC universe. I don't know how much it is for the Marvel one.
Well,
it could be. Keep in mind, Marvel, compared to DC, Marvel tends to canonize more, so...
Well, I'm also talking about the amalgamate time. Basically, there was a time when a DC hero was fused with a Marvel hero. We had Spider-Man and Superboy fused together. We had Superman and Captain America fused together. There was Batman and Wolverine. That was
there was
awesome.
There was Lobo and Howard the Duck, because...
I think one of my favorites was when they fused Storm with Diana with Wonder Woman, while also including the actual Diana in that universe, because believe it or not, Steve Trevor got fused with the Punisher.
I mean, we're talking about amalgamations. It's going to be a hodgepodge of combinations. It doesn't have
True,
to make sense.
but the gist is surely that the combining of two characters were done to make ironic, ironic couple in a sense. For example, the Shazam, that at the time was called Captain Marvel, gets fused instead with the Marvel's version of Captain Marvel, i.e. Marvel, the guy who was Captain Marvel before, Carol Danvers, and they become Captain Marvel, because we both have the same name.
Okay.
Love that bit.
Wow, that's underwhelming.
I don't remember who Lex Luthor fused with, though. Maybe Doctor Doom?
I think Lex Luthor fused with the Kingpin, if I recall correctly.
Sure, makes sense.
And of course, Perry White got fused with J. Jonah Jameson.
But yeah, the point was that it was made, to have some fine combination and to have more, light-hearted stories to combine the two products together. But no, instead, the point that I was making is that there is also another point to say that it's rather hard to make, interesting, entertaining, or refreshing stories for Spider-Man these days.
Well, Tio, here's an idea. How about we let him age up, get married, become a teacher and professor, like JMS
and have
was
someone
going
like
on
Miles Morales taking over, officially.
Or his daughter. Actually, yeah, in fact, there was even a complete series revolving around that happening.
Renew your vows?
Well, okay, the MC2 universe? The one where essentially, the daughter of his that was stolen by Osborn was returned, I think thanks to, one of his clones helping out here and there. The one with the disfigured face. Kane. Kane, yeah.
Kane's my favorite.
Kane helping out, getting the daughter back, and she grew up to be Spider-Girl, eventually Spider-Woman. She would later become the official Spider-Man of her Spider-Woman of her universe after her father got killed in that oh-so-great comic book, Spider-Verse. Yeah. Oh, Spider-Verse.
It's interesting how recently a couple of recent movies have taken not very popular comic book stories and made them into things that the majority of people enjoyed, like Into the Spider-Verse, and even though I disagree, Civil War.
Well, it was also the fact that Kevin and his team, plus the guys who made Spider-Verse, they have hindsight behind on their side, so they already knew in advance what people didn't like about that concept, and so now they have proper feedback into how to implement it better.
In contrast, for example, the DC animated adaptations have been dwindling quality a lot in recent times. Joe has mentioned Wonder Woman Bloodlines as one of the better examples, but that's like an exception more than anything because Batman Hush was bad.
Ooh,
Superman
boy.
Red Son I actually checked out, and yes, it's bad too. For some reason they decided to pretty much change everything. It might as well be a complete different story for all I know.
Really?
and
Dang.
And the more recent Justice League Dark animated movie that is supposed to be the official conclusion of the new DC animated universe they established is so taxing for how depressing it gets. And keep in mind, Jova, supposedly we're getting among the next adaptations one based on the Long Halloween, so I have no idea how we're gonna screw that up.
I hope that, well, okay, if Wonder Woman Bloodlines is any indication, they seem to be getting a better hold on themselves, which is,
Or that they have a lot of confusion among the team because some they manage to do things right and other very wrong.
It really is baffling because the DC animated movies were known for being actually very good adaptations of comic book stories, to the point where a lot of people recommend watching the movies over reading the comics.
Or the DC Extended Universe.
Yeah, that too. Well, yeah, I know. Funny, the DC Extended Universe has been getting better, so why have the animated movies been waiting? Is it some kind of yin-yang energy there?
Or someone at DC doesn't know how to handle things because they lack their proper, Kevin Feige, equal. Like, the closest thing is Geoff Johns, but one, he has proven that he cannot, handle a gajillion things at the same time, and two, he still needs to be put on a leash because a lot of times he can also write very bad stories.
Now, to Geoff Johns' credit, though, we do have him to thank for the comics eventually, wisening up, and we
There
have
we
him
go.
to thank for the DC Cinematic Universe wisening up here and there. The thing is, though, there are so many divisions of DC to work with that even he recognizes that he can't handle them all.
Anyway, basically we needed to get 3 atomic batteries for Miguel.
I guess it.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is still going on.
No. The thing is that now, in order to give you a bit pressure, in a second, as you will see, the things will start. Will be about to explode, and you will have a counter to go through. There you go. In a second.
Ooh.
The Suicide Squid, get it with.
No. I was just going to say, I know it's like this throughout every industry, but I swear it seems to apply the most towards comic books. It's like the quality of those is a real crapshoot.
Well,
Whenever I go into something I normally go into, like a video game or a movie or whatever, typically I'm like, I want to see how this is. With a comic book, I'm like, oh god, is it going to be crap or not?
Okay.
Lives,
To
gotta
be fair,
honest,
Lives, that
is
applies to
applicable
all
to
of them.
any media ever.
Yeah,
At all.
That's
Probably the only reason that you mentioned that is because compared to the rest of the media, comic books have been around since the 40s and in a large quantity, much more than movies or TV series.
Guys, that's what I said.
Well, that's
Well,
the
Just that actually, that Tail said that first.
I said I know it's like that across all media, but it seems to be exacerbated
Oh
towards
god,
comic
that
book.
voice.
I think I see why for you, Dwibs, though. It's like, well, with comic books, here's the thing. You watch a TV show, an episode or movie, in and of itself, that's a story. When it comes with, a video game, in and of itself, that's an installment. The difference is that with comic books, yes, there are definitely some comic books that do mercifully wrap up their story in one issue, but a lot of times with comic
Alright,
books...
here we go. Of course, one at a time.
Gotta drag this out as slowly as possible.
No, I get what you mean, Joe. The comics.
Alright, here we go. We're actually
very popular
questioning.
stuff.
I'm guessing that's the reason why you're a bit more iffy on them, because with a lot of comic books, it takes multiple issues for you to complete a full story here and there. It's always best if you get, one that comes in a trade or an omnibus.
Or something like Elseworld stories, something that you don't have to rely on past continuity to enjoy.
I still highly recommend Secret Wars, though. If ever you needed an introduction to the Marvel Universe, that's a pretty good one.
They'll probably do that in the MCU within like 5 years.
I'm not entirely
Yeah,
sure because
depends.
the way the comic book Secret Wars is made, it will need to the adaptation will need to radically alter in terms of the characters involved, especially considering how the events of the MCU have propagated so far.
How about this? Secret Wars involves a lot of the heavy-hitting heroes here and there, some of which by, Endgame are dead. Now, granted,
Not just that, Jova. It also involves villains that haven't showed up yet anyway, like Galactus,
And Dr.
or Doctor Doom.
Now, granted, it is the bit where Spider-Man does get that black suit, so that is something.
Like, I get it. You managed to pull off the Infinity Gauntlet storyline without having to rely on Mephisto, and I'm happy for it. But you can't strike that success all the time.
Yeah, but and now at some point they got to throw in the X-Men and all the Fantastic Four.
Well, okay. From what we've heard, it sounds like their plans may be to work in various X-Men through different media. Like, from what we hear, one of the first X-Men that they're planning to have show up is Storm, fittingly enough, and Black Panther 2.
Well, actually, Jova, the first thing that I heard is that we're gonna get a location. I forgot what city, what's the name. It's one of the islands associated with Wolverine that will be at least mentioned in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I'm talking about characters, not just...
If you want a character, supposedly, if I recall correctly, one of the future Disney Plus series will have to include... oh my god, I forgot the name. Basically, the classic... it's basically the Regiment that has to handle the state of Latveria when Doom is not present, basically.
How nice. But yeah. Oh, well, yeah, they apparently do have a Doctor Doom script in the making, so there's that. But from what I've heard, one of the...
Yeah, it's from the guy who made the TV series Fargo.
Actually, I haven't seen it, so I don't know how it is. Like,
I know
what Fargo it is, but I don't know how the TV series is.
Well, if you want a more comic book related example, he did write a X-Men TV series. I think it was Legion.
Huh.
Did he now?
Have you seen that? Because I haven't.
I haven't yet.
I have not really.
All right. Let's try to pull this. I think it's a second but yeah, that's another thing. Every time you try to pull in one of the batteries, you get this swarm of enemies that you have to painfully defeat with Miguel. Yeah, so let's move on.
Yeah, that can happen.
I mean, I don't mind the combat in an arcade way, but it can be taxing. And I actually had to speedrun this thing like for 5 hours in one single day. It wasn't really pleasant.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to play... That's the thing. Shadow Dimension could be taken bite-sized thanks to the episodic nature, but this keeps going and going and going. Like, even Azura's Wrath had a chapter system for, you to stop instead of, having to go through one in one single go. This doesn't really have that luxury. The point where the game basically stops and allows you to take a break are so few.
Not only that, but with each chapter, Azura's Wrath took us to different valleys and locations here. May I remind you, we spent the entirety of this game stuck
inside
in one
the Alchemax building, yeah.
Hell, even in the other timeline, it's still in the Alchemax building.
It's not even that interesting of a looking building.
Mind you, it's a Spider-Man game where you can't even swing around that
Hold
much.
on, this needs to be listened.
Oh boy.
So, excuse me?
Nah. So, Peter, you're planning to abandon your entire timeline.
Why?
Because that is supposed to protect his loved ones.
Did Spider-Man just said that 1 billion lives are more important than his?
Well, that's noble of him, I guess.
No, Pedro.
Not really. Actually, it's very selfish and something that Spider-Man, I'm not sure he would say, at least in the hands of a competent writer.
Basically, Pedro.
Could you elaborate a bit more?
Basically,
well, remember, Spider-Man, Peter is the hero that does the most of the self-sacrifice. He's the one where you should relate the most, the one that has the bills to pay, and the one that has his loved one in danger. But despite that, he constantly pursues because he believes he has to do the right thing because from his great power derive great responsibility.
Okay.
And this Peter has just said that he thinks the best solution is just to stay in the future. just to save them.
Just
Never
to
mind that, but one, that's not how it works, and second, the foreshadowing that this constitutes as maybe one twist later on as a payoff.
Just to elaborate, he kind of implied that, he cares more about his loved ones than a huge mass of people, which, yeah, I get, but again, needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and Peter just went against that by saying that, well, a billion's this, but what about my loved ones? And even still, mind you, what good would him abandoning the timeline even do? For all he knows, his loved ones could get caught up in the next villain attack or whatnot.
Keep also in mind, well, okay, we can explain better in the next part, so see you for that.
See ya.
See ya.
So yeah.